one of these days I'll figure out how to do a decent video cover image. But I'm gonna start with my nonfictions that I've read. This is just 3 of them. I actually have read, according to Storygraph, 7 nonfictions. Because for some reason one of my mangas is notified. It is in a nonfiction. I don't know why, but it is. I have already done a video on one of them, which is when the mob ran Vegas. So I am not going to repeat that one. And one of these 7 is in my DNF books, so it's not in the pile that I have in my hands, and it's going to be in its own, it's going to be with the DNFs, so I'm not going to talk about it here. So I'm going to, some of them I have written my thought process on them. Yeah, so I have started something called the hardest reading challenge you will ever do, and one of the challenges is to read at least 5 nonfictions, of which I've done 2 of them within the start of the challenge. Well, technically 3, again, did not finish. And I'm not counting that one. So, I'm going to start with the ones that I have a physical copy of. And then I will go to the ones that I have checked out from the library. And hopefully I will do some basic editing and try to figure out how to do some editing and maybe put like the cover somewhere up, the cover image somewhere up there, so I can show you what the cover is. But the first book is Pegasus Bridge, June 6, 1944. If any of you are historians, you would probably know that date. It is D-Day, specifically the Normandy D-Day. It's very short. It's about 100, let me double check. Yeah, it's about 150 pages, give or take. And it's really about one, in the early hours of D-Day, a daring mission of glider commandos stormed the German defense and launched the Normandy invasion. Stephen E. Ambrose has done a few other nonfictions, and I'm pretty sure I've read one of them for a class. You know what? Actually, as part for the course, I'm just going to look it up right now. Oh no, I have not read it, but his Citizen Soldiers is on my to-read list. I do kind of want to try to get to it next year. I thought he wrote The Longest Day, which I guess is a different person. But he's done a bunch of nonfiction, especially around World War II. So, yeah. Okay, I recognize the name. It's because one of his... Oh, and Band of Brothers. Okay, he's done Band of Brothers... Citizen Soldiers, Band of Brothers. Those are books that are on my TBR list. So one day I will do a video on them. But this one's a very short one. Again, only 100 pages. And it's basically just about a British glider company that essentially stormed what would become known as the Pegasus Bridge and held it so that God forbid the Germans, would come and the German reinforcements will come, they would hold the bridge to keep them from attacking, and possibly, what ifs, the Normandy invasions would not happen as they ended up doing. One of the reasons why it didn't happen, I am throwing a blank on the name. Why the German reinforcements didn't come, was because since this happened in the early hours, like 1 a.m., Hitler was asleep. And he was the type of boss that was like, you can't do anything unless I say so. So all his soldiers were just sitting around going, yeah, we don't want to wake him, so we're just gonna wait until he wakes up and let him know that, yeah, this is happening. So that was kind of an interesting little factoid I didn't know that we learned through this. We do get some really... It's hard to say because nonfiction is not really my forte. I have started reading more of them. But it's just like... It's fun to learn about all the domino pieces that... Here we go. Here's one of them. Here's one of the little dots I'm paying attention. Yeah, he's... This is... Spice. Enough. If you've ever had Dachshunds, they are very clingy little things. Sweet, yappy, clingy. And I want them. If I ever get dogs of my own, I'm getting the Dachshunds. Because, well, if not Dachshunds, a small breed, because, you know, they start getting too yappy, you can just pick them up and carry them. But, did I write anything about Fatal Storm? I mean, not Fatal Storm. Pegasus Bridge. Yeah, actually I did. I was looking at the next book on my lap, which I'll get to later. So, what I wrote from Pegasus Bridge. Yeah, so blame my paternal grandfather and father for my interest in World War II. Yeah, like I said, a band of brothers, citizen soldiers, The Longest Day, the movie Tora. I am very fascinated with World War II. Because my grandfather was a soldier, a Marine in World War II. He was on the Pacific Theater. And, so there's a lot to cover. It was a lot of things to do with World War II, and so I'm just, you know, working my way through. Oh, I think the other books I want to read would be Letters from Iwo Jima. And I think there's like another book about Iwo Jima from... I think Letters is from the Japanese Japanese one perspective. I'll get to it eventually. Enough, guys. Enough. So, it's a short book that just covers a small but vital part of D-Day, the capturing and holding of... Okay, it's 2 bridges. The main one ends up being called Pegasus Bridge. By British parachuters in the early pre-dawn of Operation... I am throwing a blank on the name that would become the Normandy invasions. Operation Overwatch? I don't know why I'm thinking that one. I could be wrong. Please let me know. Or I will put something down below. I'm gonna practice editing. Okay, yeah, it goes into detail on the training of the team and acknowledges how both the training and good luck paved the way for the paratroopers in its in their success. It's a very quick read and it's very well written. So yes, this one I do recommend. I do recommend this one. No, I am not going to keep it. I found it in my neighborhood's little library, so I'm going to return it to the little library, and hopefully someone else will pick it up and enjoy it. I did actually pass it on to a coworker at one point, so it has been traveling. I would have been fine if he had kept it, but he returned it, so now I get to hold it while I'm talking about it. Alright, so the next book is Fatal Storm, the tragic Sydney Hobart race. Now, I really do not care for sailboat racing. I really do not care for sailboats. Well, to be fair, I'm not really a water person, despite the fact that I live in a city that is heavily, the beaches are its main draw. But, and then also, my parents used to race sailboats before I came along. And so, this one was a pickup because I was, I'm interested in, even though I don't care for that stuff, I am still interested in it. So this is basically a disaster race. There was the Fastnet race in Ireland, and then a couple years later, well, not a couple years, but years later, this one happened. And I know there were a few people who raced that particular disaster Fastnet who ended up also racing in this one. So the two main differences between the Fastnet and this one is, outside of one just being the North Irish Sea, this one is the Tasmanian and Bass Strait. So, Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere. So this was, even though this took place on Christmas Boxing Day, it was in the middle of summer for Australia and Tasmania. So I'll read the back. One of the world's 3 great ocean sailing competitions, the annual 630-mile race from Sydney, Australia to Hobart, Tasmania, pits sailboats against the notoriously rough waters of Bass Strait and the Tasman Sea. The 115 boats leaving Sydney Harbour on December 26, 1998, expected rough weather, but the gale that caught the boats well at sea in the pre-dawn hours of December 27th was anything but routine. The freak unseasonal storm brought hurricane-strength winds, waves 6 stories high, and the worst sailing disaster in recent history. 7 boats were abandoned at sea, and 5 sank. 57 sailors were rescued, plucked from the decks of broken boats or from the sea itself under impossible conditions. 6 sailors died. Yes, it's a tragedy, and I will do my best to not make light of the 6 lives that have been lost, but I'm going to be pretty much talking about this from a reader's perspective, and someone who, again, is relatively new to the nonfiction genre. But let me say again, I did write it down. There, is it popping up? Yep, I did write it down. I did write all my thoughts. So let me just, curiosities, but it was okay, yeah, so it is tragic that there was the loss of the 6 men, but there was also the just sheer human tenacity and resilience from the survivors and the search and rescue team. the story of this particular Sydney Hobart race was the I wrote the was the 115 yachts essentially sailing into a surprise hurricane in the Bass Straits. Winds were clocked up to 80 knots and waves reaching up to 50 feet or 15 meters. All in all, a harrowing tale, even if I felt we took too long on the build-up. Yeah, so that was the so when I get to my DNF book, I will use this as a comparison because this did a lot of things right that the nonfiction DNF got so wrong. And I do complain. It was a slow start. But everything that was written here, everything that was the build up to the actual getting to the race was important. We got the history of the race itself. We learned a little bit of some of the oldest ships that were sailing in the race. We got a history of the people who played important roles in the race, both the people and the people who did lose their lives, the 6 gentlemen who lost their lives. We learned about them. We got to know them. And it pays very good respect to those who did lose their lives. And it is such a well done written book. I don't remember what I gave it. I don't think I gave it a full... Yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars. So I might bump it up to 4 because now that I'm looking back and in hindsight, I respect this book a lot. I respect this book. I respect how it was written. I respect what I learned from it and the respect that it gave to everyone. It did not place the blame, yes, history placed the blame on certain people, but the book itself did not. Rob Mundell did not put his bias into the book. He kept it very professional. And I respect that I respect this book. I respect Rob for that. Very much so. And I will definitely recommend this to anyone who is interested in sailboats and disasters and just the tenacity and the banding together of the whole search and rescue. And it wasn't just the search and rescue team. They brought in people who live in the area. They brought in the people who, any of the ships who were in that area, big cargo ships, people who used their own personal boats to help rescue people, the helicopter pilots who went out and just heck, I'm gonna just look. There you go. It's just... Well, I guess I've also lived through hurricanes, so I know what a hurricane can do. I've never been on a boat in a hurricane. I personally do not want to be on a boat in a hurricane. It freaks me out. Because, yes, while I enjoy looking at the ocean, while I enjoy the occasional cruise, the ocean kind of scares me. At least the top of the ocean. I can go underneath and dive and be perfectly fine. Me being on top of the water, no, that kind of... I'm good. So, let me just let me get this. These are the 6 gentlemen who passed away. So rest in peace, Charles Skeggs and Bruce Raymond from Business Post NIDA, John Deacon, James Laurel, and Michael from Winston Churchill, and Glenn Charles from The Sword of Orion. I recommend this book. 3.5 to 4 stars. I'm also not going to keep it though. This is going to go to that little library along with Pegasus Bridge. And then the last one that I actually have a physical is Guns, Germs, and Steel. I don't remember when I picked this one up. I know it was when the book, like, for some reason it just got really big a couple years ago. Yeah, so this one was copyrighted in 1999, but it got, like, I don't know what it was, but I was seeing it all over the place in, I want to say, mid-2010s, so, like, maybe 2016. Either way, I picked it up. It's like 400 pages, 500 pages. I did try to read it before. It was definitely a lot of those, pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down. And I was just like, let me see if my library has an audio copy. And they did. So I did a tandem audio and reading. Mostly audio though, because it's a big book. But I did but unfortunately, it's one of those books that, yeah, I can say I've read it. I don't remember much of it outside of just, it does try its best to answer the question, why was it that Europe conquered most of the world and not, say, North or South America or Australia? Or why did China become this big powerhouse and then all of a sudden just kind of stopped? Yeah, okay, hold on. It's so some of the, wow, winner of the Pi Beta Kappa Awards in Science. Ooh, I can actually put this in as my award, and it's a winner of the Pulitzer Prize. I can actually put this on my award season, So again, hardest reading challenge. I did read this for that nonfiction, but one of the bingo squares is this. So the camera knocked because Dotson decides he doesn't want to get the loving, he wants to give the loving, and my knee is right at his right at his nose. So yeah, one of the things is prize winners, or doesn't matter what the prize is. It just here's your winners, here's your semifinalists, and here's the entrance. This actually won an award, so I can put that in and knock it off. Wow. Yeah, they allow one book to cover 2 prompts. So I was actually not going to focus on the prize books because I am I don't try to go and after it's a prize-winning book, I have to read it. Not a big deal to me. But I saw that and I'm like, ooh. Okay, so anyways, back to the blurbs on the back. From Bill Gates. Fascinating. Lays a foundation for understanding human history. Let's see. I mean, it was dry. I will say that. It was very dry. The reader, the narrator was very, monotone, kept the pace. Basically, what you would expect from a book that's it's a science book. It's a history science book, and it was, let's put it this way, it was a fascinating read. I was very, I was in and out of it. Unfortunately, the ADHD kind of kicked in and my mind wandered over the monotone and monotony of the narrator. But it's, the premise of the book itself is very fascinating. And for that, I will say, if you can sit through it, it will definitely reward you. It's just, it's about 400, it's 400 pages. This copy is 480, but that's including that's just including everything. And he's got an index, he's got further reading, so, and then obviously the acknowledgements. So and then I'm not sure even what they count. Did they count anything from the, they count the prologue and the preface, the preface. So yeah, this copy is 480 pages. I would just round it up to 500 at this point. So it's like 500 pages of an attempt at coalescing why humanity evolved in terms of society, why human society evolved the way it did, where it did, when it did. So yeah, you have Europe, Africa, East Africa, Asia, Middle East, East Africa, West Asia, Middle East, North America, South America, Australia, the islands of the Philippines and Malaysia and Indonesia and all of those. And the dog is. Either way, it's a recommendation if that's your kind of interests. It's not for everybody, that much I understand. And it's not for everybody. Obviously, I'm not keeping that one. That one's going in with the little library. I hope someone else enjoys it, though. Alright, so on to the books that I don't have copies of. And hi, boys! Alright, so I'm going to be probably doing my memory off of the Storygraph. So, A Way of Life, Zen Monastics at Work and Play. Again, I will try to get the image of the book somewhere on here. I'm going to try to figure out how to edit, but no promises. This one was a picture book, essentially, just, again, monks doing monk things, but, it's also showing that these monks are not, they're human, and they have their fun. It's not, it's Zen monastics, it's like, okay, here we go, and, Thich Nhat Hanh, I think is the one, that particular, Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh is the leader, religious leader of this group of Zen monastics. So, it's just a picture book. Interesting to see, the religion and the, at work and play. Just, cool pictures. The other picture book, oddly enough, is Along the Miami River, which details the history of the Miami River. And I have to say, I hate it. I really dislike that we lost a lot of natural Florida beauty to build up what became, downtown Miami and Brickell. Well, it's just, it's a documentation of history through maps, old drawings, and old photos. And modern ones, too, because, yes, it talks about modern Miami River. Then, It Rhymes with Takei, a nonfiction graphic novel written by George Takei itself. Or Takei. Yeah, because I think the whole reason why he named the book, it rhymes with Takei, is instead of saying gay, say Takei. Because he's gay. But so I might accidentally go back to saying Takei, but I'm going to try and keep it to the correct pronunciation of Takei, because it rhymes with gay. So this one I did write down, and this was a 5-star book. Okay, whoa. This one's a doozy. It's actually a continuation of his book, They Call Us Enemies. I think that's how it's... that... They Call Us the Enemy or something like that. Yeah, They Call Us Enemy, which is his childhood in the Japanese American concentration camps, which is on my book, my TBR list. But this one I just happened to pick up. It was at the library. It was just released, and I was like, I love this guy. I love Mr. Sulu. I love that episode when he's with the he was a fun character. I wish they gave him a little more to do in the show, but he's one of my favorites. Either way, reading from what I have written. So I knew this was not going to be a feel-good book, but wow, he did not hold back. I do follow some of his social media. I am not really on social media a lot, so I miss his posts, but I know I do follow him. And I was lucky enough to meet him at a local convention. I wish I could have spent more, but it wasn't one of those lines where you go up and you have him sign something. No, it was you go up and you take a picture with him. So I actually have a picture of myself with Mr. Takei-san. And it's me and my brother and him. Because what happened was we were in line to actually take a picture with someone else. But that person did not show up that day. Did not just, it was just like, you know what? I don't want to be in the convention. I don't want to, I don't know what happened. Like, he could have gotten sick. And then Takei-san was supposed to go out, but he realized, oh, this one person who these people probably wanted to take pictures with will have nobody to take pictures with. So, he actually stayed behind and took pictures with everybody. So I was just like, oh my God, this was not what I expected. This is not what I went, to this convention this day for. But hey, I'm not complaining. I got a picture with Mr. Sulu. Just go to sleep. I don't even remember who the person I was supposed to be waiting in line for. So it just, the book is basically more about him as a person than obviously him being an actor, him being his characters. So it's and I really think America right now really needs this book. It came out at the perfect time because of just what's going on. He actually does talk a little bit about the musical that he wrote about his time in the Japanese concentration camps, and I would love to see it. Is it a musical or is it a play? I have to look it up. I would like to see it. But you don't need to read them to understand this. It's just more of his life. And I swear, I'm just going to try to get this dog to... One moment. Okay, so I took the dogs out, and I forgot where I was in my ramble of it rhymes with Takei. Other than, I guess I'll just leave it off with, yes, go read it. Highly recommend it. And, the 5 stars. Alright, so the next one, that's it, actually. Okay, that is actually all the nonfictions that I've read this year. Outside of the one that has its own video, which was, When the Mob Ran Vegas. Alright, so, yeah, on to the next then. This was my... How many did I say I wrote? 7. My 7 nonfiction books. 6 of them. 6 of my nonfiction books. Alright, see you in the next video.